You know, it's hard to think your ex will give you another shot when they say stuff like how they don't love you anymore, how they don't have any feelings for you, let's just be friends, you can date other people, or I only find you physically attractive. But what if I were to tell you that I worked with hundreds of clients who got their ex back even after they said all of those things? Okay, so here's the deal. Each of the exes that came back after saying any of these things or more have exhibited certain signs. And in this video, I will go over these signs so you can see when you might still have a chance at mending your relationship. But to be clear, just because your ex displays any of these signs, that doesn't necessarily mean you will actually mend things. Think of them more as signals of high interest and not necessarily guarantees for reconciliation. So sign number 1, your ex initiates contact. Meaning if your ex reaches out to talk about personal topics like memories or they want to know how you're doing, rather than logistics, for example children or shared work, this is a strong sign they might want to come back. Sign number 2. Frequent enthusiastic contact. So if your ex responds quickly and with enthusiasm, especially when it's about personal stuff, that's a good indicator, meaning they're still interested. Just be cautious not to jump to conclusions too quickly, because this is a more of a subjective one. Number 3, curiosity about your life. So when your ex asks you about your well-being, your career, or even your love life, well, it's likely because they still care and could be interested in reconnecting. Sign number 4, they ignore boundaries. So if you've asked for space, but they keep reaching out, well, this can be a sign of desperation and confusion on their part. And while it does show interest, it is important to consider the emotional stability of such a behavior, because you don't want to get back together with someone who doesn't have a good hold on their emotions. As for sign number 5, drunk texts or calls. So late night emotional messages, especially if they happen more than once, well, they reveal lingering feelings very often. Although these can be kind of laced with frustration, such messages still indicate that your ex misses you. Sign number 6, reaching out on special occasions. So meaning messages on birthdays, holidays, or anniversaries. These can all be signs and signals your ex is thinking about you. But context is key. Sometimes, and you have to know this for yourself, you have to consider your relationship, sometimes this is just a polite gesture, okay? Sign number 7, making excuses to talk. So if your ex comes up with trivial reasons to contact you, to reach out, like asking about something they left at your place, for example, it's likely that they're just trying to keep the conversation, the connection would be a better way to put it, in fact, alive. As for sign number 8, apologizing for past mistakes. So when your ex owns up to their wrongs and they offer sincere apologies, that's a big step towards reconciliation, in my opinion. It shows that your ex is reflecting on the relationship and, well, that they might probably be still interested because they either regret the breakup, they feel some sort of remorse, or simply just grief. As for sign number 9, prolonging conversations. So if your ex is always looking for ways to keep the conversation going, even after it should have naturally ended, it could be a sign they're simply enjoying your company and want to stay in touch, aka a sign of interest. Sign number 10, bringing up past hurts. So when your ex brings up issues from the past, that is past hurts, well, that's likely because they still have unresolved feelings for you. Now this suggests that they care enough to rehash old wounds, possibly in an attempt to repair the relationship. Sign 11, nostalgic memories. So reminiscing about good times you shared, well, it's a common way for an ex to signal that they still have feelings for you. So if they're bringing up fond memories, especially a lot, like all the time, commonly, well, that's a very good sign that they're not over the relationship just yet. As for sign number 12, they place themselves in your orbit. So if your ex is just showing up at places that you frequent, they may be creating opportunities for you to notice them and rekindle a connection on purpose. Sign 13, non-accidental eye contact. So when your ex frequently makes eye contact with you, especially if it lingers, that is a subconscious sign of interest and curiosity about what's going on with you. Again, this is a very subjective one, so take it with a grain of salt. If your ex is simply pissed off at you and they're still staring at you, looking at you, that probably isn't a sign of interest. Whereas if they're not in that emotional state, if they're actually happy or having fun, well, then that could be a very different story. Anyhow, sign 14, positive body language. So if your ex leans in, smiles at you a lot, laughs at your jokes, even when you know they weren't that funny, or maybe they maintain open, relaxed body language and body posture, they're likely comfortable around you and are still attracted. Sign 15, ditching friends for you. This is a big one. So they cancel plans with other friends or family so they can spend time with you. Well, that's a clear sign that they prioritize you and may want to reconnect. Sign 16, staying in touch with your family. So if your ex essentially continues to reach out to your family without any clear reason, it is a good sign they still feel connected to you and haven't fully moved on. Again, context is king. If your ex simply had a really great relationship with your parents, with your family, then, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it's not a sign. But if they never really had like a tight bond and suddenly they just started reaching out, then, well, probably the opposite is true. Probably they're trying to get closer to you. Oh, well, that rhymed. Pretty cool. Spitting bars on YouTube. Anyway, sign 17, keeping in touch with friends and asking about you. So this one kind of piggybacks on the last sign, and the whole gist of it is that if your ex frequently checks in with your friends to ask how you're doing or what's going on in your life, it means they're still curious and might be gauging whether you miss them or think about them or not. Sign 18, they're defending you. So when your ex stands up for you in conversations or arguments, it shows they still care about your reputation and your well-being. So that's a good sign. Now another good sign is sign number 19, blocking and unblocking you. Now this can be a sign of confusion or mixed feelings, but if it happens frequently, that probably means there are still strong feelings of interest on your ex's side. Sign number 20, social media posts about you. Oh, yeah, this is a common one. So posts filled with inspirational quotes, breakup talk, or like empowerment messages, these could all be subtle hints directed at you, especially if they mirror your situation. This is your ex's way of perhaps saying, I'm not over you yet, I'm still struggling with this. Maybe you should, give us another chance or something like that. Again, this is just a theory, this is just a sign, we don't know anything for sure, so don't go reaching out to your ex prematurely, okay? Just take all of these signs from this video into consideration before you do any kind of proactive action. Anyhow, sign 21, trying to make you jealous. So your ex might post photos with other attractive people of the opposite sex or something, or they may flaunt their dating life to provoke a reaction, right? And this usually indicates they're still emotionally invested in you, although they express this in a very immature way that you should consider as a red flag. It's still, bottom line, a likely sign of interest. As for sign 22, jealousy over your dating life. So this basically means that your ex shows signs of jealousy when they learn that you're dating or when they see that you're dating, right? And obviously this is a clear signal that they still have feelings for you, that they just aren't ready yet to let you go. As for sign 23, they keep your gifts. So if your ex still wears, or maybe they keep things that you've gave them, it's likely because those items, they hold this sentimental value for them. They comfort them while you're away, in your in your absence. These things are, in psychological terms, known as comfort objects. Kind of a really good example that I read in a book is that, you know how babies, they hold on to their blankets as a form of safety because they remind them, either by smell or sight or the feeling of their mothers. Well, it's kind of the same thing here, okay? When your ex has that hoodie that you gave them, I don't know how long ago, it usually makes them feel a bit more comforted because it feels as though you're there with them, even though you're not. So just putting it out there. Anyway, sign 24, second guessing the breakup. So while everyone second guesses a breakup at some point, if your ex does this repeatedly, or they become fixated on it, that's a good sign that they're considering getting back together. Sign 25, not announcing the breakup, meaning your ex hasn't told anyone that you've broken up. And if that's the case, they might still be holding out hope for reconciliation, or they're simply embarrassed about the split. So, flip a coin and see where it lands. Sign 26, on-off relationships. So if your relationship had a pattern of breaking up and getting back together, well, it's likely that this pattern, that this cycle, is gonna continue. Though, to be fair, this dynamic can be, or let me rephrase that, probably always is toxic, and you should really think long and hard whether this kind of a relationship is something you wanna yet again get yourself involved in. So, proceed with caution is what I'm saying. Anyway, sign 27, breaking up in the heat of the moment. So impulsive breakups, that's what I'm talking about. They often lead to two people getting back together, because if emotions were high when you split, your ex might feel regret and might come back to you once they cool down, or once both of you cool down. Sign 28, talking about a future together. Now we're getting to the really obvious ones, okay? So bear with me. When your ex brings up future plans, or maybe even dreams involving you, that's a clear sign that they haven't let go of the idea of being with you. Sign 29 is pride in your achievements. So this means that your ex frequently congratulates or compliments you on your successes, whatever they may be. Well, if that's the case, and it happens often, that probably means they are still invested in your life and your growth, hence they still like you. And finally, sign 30, the obvious affection. So when your ex shows clear signs of affection, like touching you, like I said earlier, complimenting you, expressing love, that's a strong sign that they want to rekindle the relationship. Oh yeah, of course, and kind of to add to this sign, maybe they literally tell you, let's go on a date. Maybe they tell you how they miss you, or hell, maybe they tell you they want to rekindle things. Again, these are all very strong signs and signals your ex is probably going to return. Now, if you want to know, once they do return, how to go about it, how to reattract them in the, well, I guess not in the fastest, but definitely in the simplest way possible, you should download my reattraction cheat sheet. It's a one-page free PDF. It guides you through this entire process, and you can get it in the link in the description below this video. So just, by clicking the link in the description below this video. So give that a click, and I'll see you guys and gals later. Take care.